Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Media Watch. I'm your host, Dr. Savi. And this week we've got an exciting guest. We're going to do a slightly different show. We are looking at the post-Brexit situation, but we're going to focus in on one particular area. And that particular area is more about investments. Media Watch looks at the events around the world, and one of the big events, as we know, is the fact that possibly there is lack of investment maybe. That might be something that people might be thinking about in terms of the future, because it's uncertain, as the markets would describe it. Although the Governor of the Bank of England has put up some funding to say you're okay, your money's okay, we have seen the pound plummet. We have also seen the price of gold go up as well. And people seem to be showing examples of places like Norway and Israel where they seem to survive, but it's a long way off to start kicking off the process for Brexit. But the implication and the, I guess, the impact on people's lives, citizenship, is currently in question. But this week we're going to focus particularly on entrepreneurship, and it's my pleasure to welcome Jatinder. Jatinder, I won't steal his thunder, and he will tell us all about the fact that he's a founder of the Sikh Entrepreneur Network. Is that what it is? It's an entrepreneur network. It's more of a website as well.
That's right, yeah.
So Jatinder, welcome to the show. Tell us all about
much.
all the exciting work that you've been doing, and what was your inspiration behind creating this incredible website that is a great resource. And I was just saying to you before we started, it's so nice to see somebody put up role models, if that was your original kind of aim for it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what happened was, as I got more involved in entrepreneurship, there's loads of role models. You got Richard Branson, Lord Sugar, all these kind of guys. But when we were looking for Sikhs, there are loads out there that are actually doing a lot of things, but we don't always know who they are or what they're up to. So we thought, why not set up something called Sikh Entrepreneur, where we profile all these different people who are actually doing something in entrepreneurship, so that we can put them on the site, showcase what they're up to, inspire people, especially the youth, to show, look, we have got loads of Sikhs out there doing good and greatness in the world. So let's just get out there and just promote in the community, and just help everyone get a message of entrepreneurship out there.
I think it's really good. And I think one of the really good things, I was really kind of impressed by the amount of collateral that you have to help people. Now, I'm going to show you some of the books. These are just a sample of some of the books.
Yep.
And you've been co-author on some of these, haven't you?
That's right, yeah.
And this one here is the Inspiration Bible. Sounds quite nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing religious in that. The Unseen Force Transforming Lives Worldwide. And so this is more of a philanthropic situation.
That's
isn't
right,
it?
yeah, that's right.
Loads of philanthropists in here. And how many have you got in here?
Basically, this one we've got 365 authors from around the world who have basically contribute a chapter on inspiration, life stories, adversity, things they've gone through, poems, things like that. And the idea was that, we get this book, we put it out there. If you buy it, you get two. You read one and then you share the other one with someone you feel that needs inspiration. And the whole idea was literally just to create inspiration and inspire people to possibly look at what they're up to and see how they can better themselves, and take control of their life more so than being a cause and just be an effect, but be like the cause of how they create their reality.
Okay, oh, brilliant. And so let's look at this one. Now, you have, are you in this one?
I am, yes.
This one. You're in this one here, aren't you? The Art and Science of Success. Right?
That's right, yes.
This is not an advert for all your books. It just happens to be that you have co-authored quite a few of them as well,
yes.
haven't you?
Yep.
So this is volume 6. I mean, you spend all your time writing. This is called Proven Strategies from Today's Leading Experts.
Yep.
So you, and there are, how many other authors?
There's about 23 authors in that one from around the world.
And so tell us a little bit about this, because it's like, there's kind of tips and hints, aren't there? Like, 8 key tips to help, move yourself forward. There's loads of really interesting things in here. The 3 phases of success.
That's right.
Very good.
Yeah, so this book is basically about how to create success in life, in business. So all the 23 authors from around the world have contributed, again, a chapter to do with their personal experiences and how they've managed to overcome things. My chapter in this is about reputation management, for example, about how you can manage your reputation online, and position yourself as an expert when it comes to whatever you're up to.
So the thing is, it's good to be optimistic, right? But you know, if you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, they have sadly failed in certain situations. Now, one of the popular terms that people are using in business at the moment is failing fast. You know, which is rather than spending millions and millions on an idea and suddenly find, oh, it didn't work because you didn't advertise it enough or there wasn't enough marketing behind it. You do a proof of concept, and if it fails fast, then you haven't lost as much money as if you would have.
That's right.
Do you agree with that? Is that something that's...
I think, yeah, definitely. There's something that can be done. I mean, one of the things when we work with people is this whole concept of niche marketing. You might have a product or a service that you want to get out there, but you're not too sure whether it's going to catch on. So you can actually create a whole bunch of things which you can put out there to get feedback if there's actually enough target audience or people actually interested in it, whether there is a need for your product. So it's a lot easier with the internet, with online surveys and those kind of things, to be able to test the market at a relatively low cost.
But there's a price in one sense, isn't it? Because you've got to put time and effort in.
Absolutely.
And I think I read somewhere where if you create an app, you want to go, oh, there's an app for that, and they create an app, and then somebody could be a real genius and create one, or have a bunch of people that do it.
Yeah.
But you've got to, how do people know that you've got a product? Unless you kind of put it out there and you spend millions and millions on advertising.
That's right.
It just always seems to be a problem. And your role in the organisation is, and it's quite nice because we're involved in this in terms of, you know, our programme looks at, I guess, what's happening digitally across the world in media, because we get our news from the media, don't we now? And it's very much moving away from paper to online.
Yes.
Your role is the Director of Digital Strategy.
That's right.
So if, for example, you had a product and suddenly it came out, unless it was trending, you'd have to create that trend, but you'd be like a tiny bit of noise amongst a bigger noise.
That's right.
So how do you actually get your message across?
There's a process involved. I mean, again, it depends on your target audience. It depends on the product that you're trying to get out there. But the main thing is you have to look at if there's a need for that product. You have to look at the customer and see whether you're fulfilling some customer need. Because if you just have some random idea and you put it out there, if you haven't done your target audience research, it can potentially fail. So you have to do research behind that to see who else is doing it, what are they up to, what are the kind of emotional needs of a customer for that particular product or service. It's very dependent on what it is, and then you have to build your strategy according to that.
And we were talking just before coming on the show, we were talking about the Instagram, where there was a girl who had a random Instagram page where she had loads and loads of different things, and then she got rid of everything, and she just put scarves up. And now she's like got millions of followers who are just interested in her scarves. And there's a guy, I don't know if you've ever come across him, and he's got socks, and shoes, but he's got a massive following. So in that sense, the companies want to be part of that digital advertising and things.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean that's all. I mean, one of the things that we're seeing with everything that's going on at this moment in time is this whole kind of micro niching element where you are getting people who are specializing in just particular things. I mean, many years ago, you couldn't specialize in one thing. You had to do a broader thing. But because of the reach available through things like Instagram and the internet, you can actually pick a particular topic or subject and just focus all your energy and effort on that. And you'll be so surprised that there's so many people that would actually be interested in that. You know, imagine that you go to a place where you say, yeah, I'm interested in scarves. You have got people who, like to wear a scarf, So the internet allows it so that you can actually have one thing that you can focus all your energy and effort into. And if you get it right, if you get the kind of tribe, online tribe following, depending on the numbers you've created, then you can potentially get other big companies coming on board saying, well, let's put this out there.
Because they know that you've got 1 million followers.
Exactly.
So they want to be part of that action.
That's right. That's right. Just as an example was the Sikh street style, the guy who was creating all the
T-shirts.
The T-shirts. He had
and
the fashion.
He was picked up by Samsung.
That's the one, yes.
Advert,
Exactly. So he had something like, at the time, I think he had something like 84,000 followers on Facebook.
And I think, remember, there was a billboard in the New York Times.
That's right.
Wasn't there? Not New York Times, what am I talking about? It's actually in Times Square.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So, so like he managed to get the following, he's got online tribe, and because of that collateral, he's able to then put it out there where these big companies come on board and say, well, he's got the reach, he's our marketing channel, so let's talk to him and get the message out there.
Do you think the same is true to move it on to news and current affairs? Do you think the same is true for current affairs, that I remember watching, I think I mentioned this before a long time ago, that Jon Snow, who does the news, Channel 4 News, had done a lecture on media and who's controlling the news in terms of what the editorial is, right, and what kind of background they're from.
Yes.
So sometimes, certain news, certain ethnic news or Sikh news doesn't get into the mainstream, because certain people are not choosing not to put that in place. Say, for example, the Birmingham to London cycle ride, it's taking place in 2 weeks' time. Okay, it's been going for 32 years. Now, that's a massive achievement from 250 riders who do a ton of charity work through the year. £72,000 is what they raised last year, but I know that, you might know that because you know about them, but the mainstream doesn't know about it.
That's right.
So how would they be able to generate greater interest if none of the newspapers are actually following that story?
That's right. I'm actually taking part in the bike ride this year as well.
Okay, I'll see you there.
Yeah, definitely. So there is. I mean, I've been, I have been following the kind of online presence of what they have at the moment. There are massive improvements that can be made. There is. You have to basically create your online tribe. You have to get the online following, especially nowadays. It's that community, that online community, because they're the ones that are going to be your advocates. They're the ones that are going to push your message out there.
Do you think anybody takes any notice? Because like in the House of Commons, you can actually have a debate if you get over a certain number of signatures. And I think recently there were 3 million signatures, but I think 57,000 of them were from some other country. Whereas you can put some controls in place that anybody who does actually go onto the petition site is actually from the United Kingdom. So maybe sometimes that 3 million is skewed a bit. But even if you took out the 50,000 or whatever it is out of that, that's still a sizable number of people that are asking for a referendum again. Right? But how much of that would be, how much of that is part of the democratic process? Is social media really that influential that it can change people, politicians' minds?
I think nowadays it is. I think there's a whole kind of there's plus and negative in the sense that social media is something that creates a buzz as well, but it can be influenced. It can be used in the wrong way.
So you think there's a dark side as well?
Absolutely. There's a whole bunch of things where you can have something negative, which the people who want to get it negative out there, they can push it forward. They got the networks to do that. So there is a dark side to it. With anything, there's going to be both sides. You're going to get the plus points and negatives. So it's the same with like the whole Brexit thing. There's pros and cons of both sides of it. But everything these days seems to be focused heavily on marketing, and whether you get the marketing right, this whole campaign or the referendum thing was a marketing campaign. They basically worked on people's emotions.
But even if it was misinformation.
Exactly, which unfortunately is very unethical. And that brings another question as to what do you do to make sure that it's ethically done? But then it's so easy to kind of just put something out there which takes people in a totally different direction. Because I was posted on Facebook quite recently saying that don't believe everything you see on social media. Do your own research, look into it. Don't just share something just for the sake of it. Actually see what's valid. How can this be, whether there's any truth behind it or not. So some of this means that we have to take the responsibility on ourselves to check what's going on as well and not just blindly share it.
Do you think sometimes that there's sometimes you get like a video and it shows something really social and, like a kid and who grows up and then realizes that the money that was given to him by, somebody who was walking the street ends up being something he kind of repays later because he becomes a doctor or, some kind of story. And then at the end it goes, brought to you by XYZ Bank.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing in your view? Because in one sense, is it a real story? Right. And secondly, is that the right use of media to be able to play on people's emotions?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because every business out there are going to want to create profits and income and generate a lot more customer base. So they are going to do whatever they can to create that. Now, when you look at what they're doing and why they're doing it, if their core values are based around on that emotion of how people can actually use the bank to then benefit their lives and other people's lives in the future, and many people probably have done that as well. So there's no harm in kind of using that story to say our customers have done this, So there is that side of it, but then there's the other side where if it's just done for the sake of marketing, where there's no ethical background to it, just because they want to create the numbers, then it's manipulation. So this kind of stuff is something that needs to be monitored at a much higher level within the organizations. And it's not something that I don't know. It depends on different organisations as to what their process is for doing something.
Well,
like
are you being played or not being played?
Sorry?
Are you being played or not being played?
Yeah.
But the irony behind it is you're playing it and then you're sharing it.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, but sometimes the message in itself is very powerful, right? So you come across it and you think, that's actually a very powerful message.
You could do with that. We're going to do without having that ad at the end. Yeah. It's just leave it at the message.
That's right.
Take the message and go.
That's right. Yeah. But, some people do that. They share stuff and say, "Oh, I'm not too keen on the bank," but for example. But it's a good message. So it's one of those things. It's like people are going to share something that resonates with them more, and they think that it's going to add value to other people. So that's the whole kind of premise behind creating viral messages, is to be able to share that and add value to people's lives.
Do you think there's been a creation of, I mean, obviously you've got BuzzFeed, haven't you, and you've got Reddit and certain places, but there are also websites which all they do is just have content from other people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And to generate dollars, I suppose, in terms of click dollars, don't they?
That's right, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And so therefore, I guess we never realised that would be something that we would be doing in the future. Oh, look, this is really funny. Share that.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly. That's right. I mean, there are sites that kind of do they share content from other sites. Some reference them, some don't. Some even could possibly be changing the information on there. We don't always know. So it's good to check on 2 or 3 different sources when you come across something, just to see what the similarities are, or whether they're saying the same thing or not. You know. So I think we have to do our own due diligence on things like that as well.
So part of the education element of what you've got on your website, you're actually involved in teaching personal skills as well, aren't you? Presentation skills, that kind of thing? Yeah,
a lot of stuff with personal development. So I'm involved with a lot of people that do personal development. And so, for example, one of the things that I do is work with authors, entrepreneurs and coaches, and I help position them to basically get the message out there to help train and educate people on self-development, whether it's to do with personal life, whether it's to do with business and sales, whether it's to do with spirituality even. Some of our clients even do meditation and things like that. So, so there's a vast kind of different things that we're involved in. And the good thing about it is that because I work with so many different people, it's quite good to sometimes be able to then pick out certain things and say, actually, this is going to benefit this person, this is going to benefit this person, and come from that angle as well.
So rather than it being kind of selfish for that person, it's not selfish, but they want to do self-improvement. Yeah. You also look at the fact that it can help other people with their network around them, or maybe their family or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when we take it back to Sikhi, you know, Baba Nanak said, "Mana jeeta jag jeeta," right? Which is basically meaning being able to monitor your own mind. And if you understand how you work, you'll understand how others work. And for me, I've gone to different events and stuff, I learned things like that, and I've seen how much it's benefited myself. And I'm thinking more of this stuff needs to be out there, whether it's through Sikhi, whether it's through similar concepts and stuff that are out there. At the end, the message is the same, so why not share it? Just get it out there and help people.
The 7 Habits for Highly Effective Managers is a quite powerful book, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
It gives kind of certain steps and certain behaviours that you should be doing.
That's right, yeah. That's right. Because it's all about mindset. So how you see the world. You know, we've all got like a map of the world in our minds, and we make meaning of things we come into contact with. But if you change the meaning, then, you know, the way you perceive that thing changes as well.
There's a lot of talk about the growth mindset, isn't there?
Yes.
There's a lot of organisations that are following that. What is that?
The growth mindset is probably the same concept as the whole kind of what do they call it? There was a term, I've forgotten what the term is.
What, mindfulness?
Mindfulness, that's right. So it's a similar concept to that.
And that's a kind of, is that mindfulness concept taken from Buddhism?
It's a mixture of everything, really. Yeah. It's not just from one particular background. It's quite vast. I mean, you get people who have studied different things, and then they say, okay, like what Bruce Lee did when he went with the martial arts, he took what was best things out of them and then developed
holistic element.
That's right, yeah. Yep. So there's a lot of that, and you know, they all do say pretty much the same thing. It's just about different people marketing the message for the betterment of humanity in a way, you know.
Yeah, it sounds good. So let's, you know, we mentioned Brexit a few times, right? Yeah. I really wanted to talk about the second part. We've got a lot of time left. This is the fun bit with all the stats. You know, 2014 to 2015, UK was the #1 destination for foreign direct investment in the EU, with the USA, India, and France being large contributors. Do you think they're going to be scared a little bit because of that? Do you think? I mean, there are other funds like the Horizon 2020 fund, which Israel and Norway take advantage of. because you're involved in entrepreneurs, there might be some budding entrepreneurs out there that are really keen on saying, well, where am I going to get some funding from? Because there are these Kickstarter type things.
That's right, yeah.
Do you think it's going to be difficult now in this climate with Brexit to get funding for future innovations?
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, it's one of those things where at the moment, because of the uncertainty, you are going to get people who say this is an opportunity for us, and some people say this isn't an opportunity for us. So at the moment, it's going to be kind of, there is going to be hesitancy around it because UK as well is being seen as the hub or the entry point into Europe. And now that's changed, it's like what are the laws, the regulations, the trading, everything's going to get affected to some degree. I mean, I was reading something the other day, we were talking about how when you have startup businesses, like in the UK, it's been quite, from angel investors to get something like £250,000 for a project to kickstart it. But it's usually when you want to go for more investors and bigger funds, you have to go to bigger people.
If you look at the Facebook example, Facebook is US based.
Yes.
It was generated in the US.
Yeah.
He still went for investment funding in the end.
That's
Mark
right.
Zuckerberg, didn't he?
Yeah.
To grow the way that he had to grow quickly.
Exactly.
That's a difficult journey though, isn't it?
It's I mean, you have to have a brilliant product like Facebook where you start to, it's literally an online database of everybody in the world at the moment, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
So that's a very powerful tool. So his vision on what it was and how he can then portray that and say, look, this is what we're up to. We're going to be able to have trends on people's behaviors.
Even with Facebook Live, which is, I mean, we know Periscope,
That's
both
right.
of us wouldn't like social media, but
Yep.
we're doing this on Facebook Live today
Yes,
as well.
yeah. Hopefully it's come out okay.
Yeah. Check it later on. These are good innovations that are coming. It's kind of taking the original product and expanding on it, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, Facebook are up to some amazing things at the moment. Whether I mean, we're going to keep seeing innovation, and that's never going to stop. But it's just that the route on how people get investments is going to be maybe a bit flaky at the moment. I think in terms of just like existing business and stuff, I think the bigger businesses are the ones that are going to feel it more at the moment. When it comes to like new startups and things like that, they're probably going to be in an okay position to keep on doing what they're doing. It's usually the bigger companies that feel the effects of this thing. Like Richard Branson was talking about how his company took like a third drop or something with everything that was going on, and he lost out on a deal or something that was going to create like 3,000 jobs. So it's usually the bigger companies which feel it hard because there's so much stuff that's going on.
There's a risk that sometimes people say, because the action's not happening anymore, why don't we just move the financial base to mainland Europe rather than the UK? Because in theory, the UK was a good place to base yourself.
Yep.
Because it had a massive banking sector.
That's right. Yeah.
We're hoping that there's still enough money in the system to be able to carry that on.
Yeah.
You can't just turn the lights off straight away, can you?
That's right. It won't happen. I mean, people got too much invested in the UK for anything like that to happen. I mean, take Singapore for example. They were a country that was kind of abandoned by the British in a way. They didn't join up with the whole kind of Malaysia system, and yet now they're like the hub for a lot of banks around the world, and they're kind of independent. So there's hope for. I'm sure UK could do something like that.
There's hope for us. Yeah. Well, sadly we've run out of time.
All right.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right.
It's so good to meet you. So good that you're doing all this exciting stuff in terms of not only inspiring others, but also creating collateral like these books. We can talk about this one, which was enlightening.
Yes, that's right.
And good that you're an author as well. Maybe we could do some stuff. You never know. But it's been really special to have you on to tell us all about what you're trying to do, how you're trying to help other people, and how you're trying to inspire people, not necessarily to make money, but also help other people in their network.
Absolutely.
But also if they wanted to do some, philanthropic stuff, help other people across the world. That's a really great thing as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Also, great to meet you. Well, that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed the show and you had a chance to meet a wonderful chap, Jatinder, who told us all about the Seek Entrepreneur Network organisation, and we've got their website, seekentrepreneur.com, that you can go and have a look at. So that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.